what I do is I'm actually in NLP, which stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. Now, before I tell you a bit more about what NLP is about, I would say that NLP is what we call as practical psychology. Now, practical psychology means that it is psychology, but it is more on how do we apply it in day-to-day life, how do we achieve patterns of excellence so that we can produce the results that we want. Now, besides being the first accredited NLP trainer in East Malaysia, I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist. So in other words, I hypnotize people. And normally when people hear that I'm a hypnotherapist, they are always very scared because whenever I tell them that I'm a hypnotherapist, they will just, you can see from the look of their eyes, it's like, don't hypnotize me. Okay, but the truth is, I don't hypnotize people to get their money or things like that. I help people to solve their life's problem using hypnotherapy, using hypnosis. I think that will go back to 1997. During the time that was the Asian financial crisis, and also at that year I dropped out from college. So after that, I realized one thing is like how difficult real life is, especially when there is an economy crisis going on. So it all boiled down to a point whereby I ran out of money, and I did not have money to pay rent, and I also did not have money to buy gas to cook food. Right, that was how bad it was. And it was at that point where I had a sudden realization, which was no one else can help me already. The only one who can help me is myself. On that day, I finally decided I have to do something with my life. I can't just play anymore because it's no longer playing. This is real, and I have to figure out my way out. So that night, I remember in my own room, I was like really thinking. That's when I draw a plan, and I told myself, if I'm going to change my life, what is the first step that I can take? So the first step I came up with is to come back to Miri and start life all over again. And that was what I did. So after I take the first step, then here's the magical thing. Whenever we take a first step, I notice that the second step will appear. Okay, and I don't have to figure out what the second step will be, because when I take that first step and I'm committed to it, the second step will appear. All I need to do is take the second step. And as you can guess, once you take the second step, the third step will appear. And then fourth step, fifth step. And that's when you begin to get more options in life. So to me, I think the turning point to me would be that realization whereby the only one who can turn my life around is no one else but myself. And that's when I started to take personal responsibility. Now let me share with you what is unconscious mental programming. You see, we are all like computers. In fact, a computer is designed by modeling human beings. Anything that a computer can do, the human beings can do even better, because that is the model, right? So, like it or not, each one of us, we have got unconscious programming that is in our subconscious mind. And where is the source of that subconscious mind? Well, the source of this programming comes from the people that we are closest to. Turns out that our parents, our best friends, or things that happen when we are young, all those things have resulted in programming in us. And usually, the things that are very, I would say, intense in our life, like very happy moments or very sad, very painful moments, those things leave an impact on our programming in our head. So I find that the biggest problem that people have today, right, is not what happens outside. That's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is what happens inside. Because if inside we have already, we are in control of our programming, we are in control of how we think, we don't really bother about what is happening outside, because we will always find a way of how to overcome the problem. Alright, so to me, the biggest thing that a lot of people got it wrong is that they always look for solution from the outside, whereas in actual fact, the solution is already in them. It's always in them. To me, I think the younger generation, they do things differently because they grow up in a very different era. Okay, when I was growing up, we don't have computers, we don't have Google, we don't have all this information on hand. But what we do have is we have a lot of opportunity to fall down, to fail, and then to stand up, try again. And I think that has molded the earlier generation. Whereas I find that for the younger generation, even I'm saying this because I have 2 young kids, I notice that as a parent, somehow or another, we try too hard to make it easy for our kids. We try too hard to make it to prevent them from going through heartache or pain and things like that. And I think the mistake of that is it really makes people less resilient to failure. I think young people nowadays, we are all a product of how our parents brought us up, or how the system brought us up, right? I would say this, yeah, especially if they are young parents right now, I think the biggest thing that we can do as a gift, as a present to our children, is to give them room to fail. Okay, give them room to fail. But when they fail, don't blame them or don't get angry and all that. Support them. Give them room to fail, because failure molds our character, and failure makes us learn from it so that we can become even better from that. The key here is we really need to begin to look more creatively about what can I do that will make a living? What can I do? What kind of value that I can give to people? What is a value that I can give to people where people are willing to pay me because I'm solving a problem for them? And you'll be very surprised. It may not be the traditional job that a lot of people think it is.